Hey, it's Bobby Bones with some exciting news. Open booking is here for the Top Shelf Country Cruise, setting sail February 2026 aboard the luxurious Celebrity Reflection. Spots are filling up fast, so book your stateroom today or sign up to become a lineup insider to receive the final lineup 48 hours prior to the public. Don't miss your chance to make February 2026 unforgettable. Visit TopShelfCountryCruise.com. That's TopShelfCountryCruise.com.
You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com. ODOO.com.
Oh, so tired. Oh, so tired.
Must stop.
Tell me about it.
Eat hot roast beef sandwich. Must.
Come on.
Sandwich.
No, come on, guys. We're almost at the next stop. We're almost there.
I don't know, Cecil. I mean, I get what you're trying to do, having us travel the Underground Railroad for the Harriet Tubman episode, but this is a lot of work.
It is, and I have to poop again.
What? Oh, God damn it.
Oh, seriously, we just
Irritable
stopped.
bowel
Like,
syndrome
I
is a
can still see
disability,
your
Tom. You are
poop.
making fun of a disability. I'm disabled.
We're still looking at it.
We are not stopping. We are going to trek through the woods by moonlight. We are going to go hungry. We're going to be tired at the end of this. And we are really going to understand the subject of this week's essay. We are going to get the gravity and the magnitude of what they were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Or we could rent golf carts.
Ooh, 2 votes.
Oh, yeah, 3 votes.
That's
No.
settled. Follow me. I got a golf cart guy.
Oh, I call the same card as Cecil.
I hate you guys so much, though.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I've been informed that even though it totally fits the format of our introduction, apparently calling myself the leader of this Underground Railroad is inappropriate.
It is, yeah.
But
It's
the
inappropriate.
negative Nancys who told me I couldn't do my super good intro are also here. First up, 2 men who hid all my makeup in preparation for today's episode, Cecil and Noah.
So many earth tones. How do you have so many earth tones? You're not even a winter. I don't even get it.
Also, Eli, I needed to polish my shoes. That doesn't work when you're wearing Crocs.
like a shiny croc. And also joining us tonight, a man whose notes are wildly inappropriate due to the fact that he thought we were doing today's essay on Harriet Tubman.
Fuck.
Good Lord.
Okay, I have never hated anyone for making me Google something as the setup for a fucking joke.
Right?
Jesus, this is why I don't research.
The spring is wound up. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. Without our patrons' money, I'd have to get a job where knowing who Tub Girl is would be a detriment.
It is
Not
a
a benefit.
detriment.
It is,
It's
yeah.
a detriment right now.
I just feel it's pretty funny, though. The punchline there was pretty funny.
Thank you. Yeah. If you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Noah, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about Harriet Tubman.
And Cecil, you're one of the 2 people on this podcast who wouldn't make everyone else very, very nervous by doing an essay on this topic. Are you ready to prove them wrong?
That is a very interesting way of wishing me happy Black History Month, Eli. That's interesting. Yeah.
And in that spirit, who was Harriet Tubman?
Harriet Tubman was born in Dorchester County, Maryland. Best guess is she was born in 1822, but she was born enslaved, so there's no records kept about her birthday. She was born on a plantation. Her parents, Harriet, Rit Green, and Ben Moss, were both enslaved by different owners. Her full name was Amanita Minty Ross.
Okay, I want everyone to have breath-related nicknames. Like, this is Eli Garlic Bosnick and Keith cirrhosis smell and running.
She was one of 9 children. 3 of her sisters were sold away from the family, and there was a plan to sell her brother to a slave owner in Georgia. Harriet's mother, Rit, hid the boy for a month when she got word. She had to eventually bring the kid home, and at that point, the plantation owner and the buyer from Georgia, they were so frustrated with the mother's obstinance, they decided to try to take the boy by force. They tried to enter the home and remove him. It's reported that Rit said, "You are after my son, but the first man that comes into my house, I will split his head open," end quote. They decided a hasty retreat was in order, and they canceled the sale.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, feels like the next natural step would be, and by the way, I'm not a slave anymore, but I get it.
Yeah.
You take what you can get. You take what you can get.
Rit was a cook. It is suspected that she's the daughter of the plantation owner. She spent much of her time cooking in the main house on the property, and thus it was up to Harriet, a child herself, to take care of her siblings. Plantation owners put her to work as a nursemaid at 6 years old.
Jesus, what?
And her task was to care for a child, and when the baby cried, she would be the one who got the beating.
As opposed to the baby.
Yeah. But, I mean, if they're beating kids, I mean, she's only 6, Tom. She's a baby herself. Harriet had a rebellious nature, and she would run away on occasion. She'd wear multiple layers of clothes as padding to take the sting out of her beatings, which I love that she's thwarted them that way. And as she aged, she was given a bunch of other work and hired out by plantation owners. At points of her youth, she was a muskrat trapper.
What?
An oxen driver for both plowing fields and hauling logs, and she did many other types of outdoor tasks.
I just love the idea, like the baby starts crying, she walks out there looking like Michelin Man. Yep, I heard it. Let's do it.
Make up a wax. Say what you will about her, but still, best resume on Indeed. It's just it's a lot of experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
Once Harriet was trying to stop an overseer from beating one of the enslaved boys. At one point, she gets in between the two of them, and just as the overseer threw a 2-pound weight at the boy, it hit Harriet right in the forehead and knocked her the fuck out.
Jesus.
Okay, she's like, "Oh, my bad. I was trying to hit a different child."
And even though Harriet, at the time, was a bloody, half-unconscious mess, they, quote, returned her to her owner's house and laid her on the seat of a loom where she remained without medical care for 2 days,
Jesus.
end quote. The blow to the head caused her to have migraines and narcolepsy for the rest of her life.
Yeah, but the lack of medical care saved her life and would soon become the American standard we know today.
Exactly. And I am very purposefully skipping over the stories of her religious visions and vivid dreams that were rooted in her Christian faith, because the culprit here is almost certainly the fact that she had her brain mashed around in her head.
Not to mention the fact that the Bible says the real problem was that she got up after 2 days, right? If she'd stayed down, the Bible says she could have gotten that overseer in real trouble, but didn't want to take that long weekend, Harriet. That's on you.
At the age of 22, she married a free black man named John Tubman. I'm not sure how the intricacies of an enslaved person marrying a free person worked, and I don't pretend to know, but weirdly, any kids they would have had would have also been enslaved, and that's sort of a strange, you had one hand on base kind of moment, you know? Harriet had gotten ill again, although the article doesn't mention how or that her previous illness was getting clunked on the noggin. But anyway, her asshole slave owner was not impressed with her sickly work ethic and tried to sell her, but to no avail. The ever-religious Tubman decided to try to wish him dead through the divine creator's will. She prayed he would die, and it either worked, and there's a creation genie that'll kill someone if you ask really nicely, or it was a wonderful coincidence because he died a week later.
Okay, I don't want to be this guy, but really, literal slave Harriet Tubman, you couldn't think of anything you'd rather wish for than your slave owner dying? Nothing.
Also, like you had this. You waited until now to find out if this would work. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job.
Tubman knew she was going to be sold off in an estate sale along with the rest of her family, and the possibility was high that the family was going to be split up. So she decided to head this one off at the pass and escape. On September 17th, 1849, she and her 2 brothers, Henry and Ben, they escaped. They were gone for a few weeks before the plantation owner reported them as runaways to the paper The Cambridge Democrat with a $100 reward for each of them. The brothers decided that they should go back, possibly because one of them had just become a father, so they turned around and Harriet went with them.
Did they at least get the $100?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you can collect on yourself there.
This part of the story is very confusing. Like, they ran away, but then they ran back when one of them became a father. Like, was this dude's girl pregnant when he left and he just was like unclear about what happens next? Like, how was this a surprise?
And if it was, how did they know, right? Like, they got a phone call? Like, I don't get.
When she returned, she escaped again, this time trying to take her mother with her, but they weren't able to rendezvous. She traveled through the wilderness with the help of the Underground Railroad, a network of safe houses for runaway slaves. She was able to make her way north, and she followed the stars. Since she was well-versed at working and being outdoors, she was able to avoid detection and make her way through some very difficult wilderness. She finally crossed the border into Pennsylvania, and she reported later in life, quote, "When I had found I had crossed that line, I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields. I felt like I was in heaven," end quote. It was after this that she changed her name from Armanita to Harriet, possibly as a way to honor her mother.
Yeah, I can't think of any other reason an escaped slave might want to change her name. So
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, right. Multiple reasons, yeah.
And this moment marked the one and only time anyone ever celebrated arriving in Pennsylvania.
She made her way to Philadelphia, and she immediately started working odd jobs to survive, always with an eye focused back to Maryland to free her family. She traveled back to Maryland a year later, and she was able to get her brother and 2 other men. They had made their way back to Pennsylvania. She then returned another time to Maryland, this time to Dorchester County, where she was from. She wanted to go back to get her husband, but when she came back, she found out he had already up and married someone else while she was gone. She at first wanted to break down the door and make a scene, but she decided she'd just gather a group of enslaved people and head back to Philly.
I think that's probably for the best. It seems like an awkward trip, if nothing else.
All right, tonight we travel by moonlight. If you hear the hounds...
Sorry. Harriet?
Yes, John.
We're cool, right?
This is not really the time, John.
Right, no, of course. We gotta escape slavery, of course. But just to be clear, we're not.
John,
It just seems like if we were cool, you would be like, yeah, we're cool. But if we're not cool, I don't want to push it. I don't want to push it if we're not cool.
Fine, John, we're cool. Okay, we're cool.
Wow, you just got over us so fast. I was like,
I am just going to let you get caught. I'm going to let you get caught.
Like, how long were you out of it?
She made other trips back to Maryland after, one time taking 11 escaped slaves with her and hiding out in Frederick Douglass's house.
Oh, Frederick Douglass. He did an amazing job. He's being recognized more and more, I noticed.
Yeah, I like this newest album, yeah.
Now, there's no direct record of this happening, but she did conduct a rescue operation, rescuing 11 people at the same time when Douglass wrote in his biography, quote, "On one occasion, I had 11 fugitives at the same time under my roof, and it was necessary for them to remain with me until I could collect sufficient money to get them on to Canada. It was the largest number I ever had at one time, and I had some difficulty in providing so many with food and shelter," end quote. They were taking them to Canada, by the way, because even the American North, where slavery was abolished, was still a very unfriendly place for escaped slaves.
Okay, fine, you're people, but we're still going to be dicks to you.
Yeah.
So,
Which remains our policy to this day.
No, it's true.
And Tubman wasn't done yet by a fucking long shot. Over the next 10 years, she would rescue 70 slaves in 13 expeditions. She freed so many, her nickname became Moses, who fictionally led the Hebrews to freedom in a really dumb book.
A little book called The Constitution of the United States of America.
She wound up freeing a bunch of her family members, including her brothers, sister-in-law, her nieces and nephews, and her parents.
Wow.
She mostly conducted her rescue missions in the winter, so there was less chance that she would run into people outside.
And she used really big fake bare feet to make tracks in the snow. You know, like to trick pursuers into thinking she was Bigfoot. Like not for any reason. She just thought that part was fun.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. She also left out with escaped slaves on Saturday night because newspapers didn't print runaway slave notices on Sunday. So that gave her a head start ahead of the bounties.
I imagine that was pretty frustrating for the slave owners.
Damn it, Johnson, they're getting away. Wrangle the slave catchers.
Oh, sorry. Can't really let anybody know about that till Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Well, it's
no, why in the hell?
Well, it's a bank holiday on Monday.
I mean, surely you could run it down there now.
Well, I'm on my 15. So
okay, could you just?
I said I'm on my 15.
You did say that.
I guess she was always disguising herself, hiding her face behind newspapers to avoid eye contact with people that might recognize her. At one point, she had a couple of chickens that she was carrying around to fit in with the local working folk. And when somebody got nosy and started doing chicken stuff, man, they started staring at her too long. She'd pinch the chicken to make it go a little nuts, so she could pretend she was distracted and hide her face.
Nice.
Tubman also carried a pistol with her that she was not afraid to use. One time, a guy was with her and he was getting cold feet with the whole operation, wanted to go back. Tubman knew this was going to jeopardize the whole mission. So she put the barrel of the gun up to his head and said, "You go on or you die." And he went on and they made it to Canada.
Wow. Okay, no offense, Canada, but this time of year, though, you'd have to think about that for a second, right?
The whole time she's running these operations, she has to deal with the cold and the wilderness. She's navigating at night, hiding during the day. They're moving from safe house to safe house, the whole time being pursued by slave catchers, out for one of the many bounties on her. Tubman would go on later in life to tell an audience, quote, "I was a conductor on the Underground Railroad for 8 years, and I can say what most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger," end quote.
Okay. Quick aside, but trains sound way more dangerous than I would have guessed back then. Most conductors are running these things off the track? What the fuck? What?
I'm the only person whose train has not derailed. I would argue those aren't trains then. Anyways, it sounds like we've got the story of one badass lady, and I'm sure in the second half, America is going to treat her fantastically. So we're going to take a quick break for a little ditty we like to call Apropos of Nothing.
It was a time of desperation.
We're never going to make it to the north.
It was a time of fear.
What are we going to do? We can't just hide here.
It was a time for Tubman.
Hey, you fucking people need to get aboard this fucking Soul Train, because we're leaving the station.
From the people who cast Ghost in a Shell and the live-action Last Airbender, Marky Mark is Harriet Tubman.
Hey, Harry, you want me to fucking shoot that fucking guy over here? Because I'll fucking whack him.
Also, Robert De Niro is Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett and Harriet Tubman weren't even contemporaries. He'd been dead for years before she was even born.
Get out of the sketch!
No, get out of the sketch.
I am too in the sketch. I did two voices at the beginning.
They aren't taking prisoners.
I'm gonna ride this fucking steamboat right up your ass, General Lee.
But they are taking passengers.
Looks like it's your last stop.
Motherfucker.
They are Tubman and Crockett.
And we're back. And I want to see that movie. When we left off, Harriet was telling everyone to come with her if you want to live. What happened next, Cecil? I'm glad I got to do that.
I think you crushed it. That's exactly
Thank
what she
you.
said. Civil War breaks out in 1861, and Harriet knows that this could be the end of slavery if the Union wins. So she right away tried to pitch in.
Oh, what did she do? Did she decide to buy some stamps? Was that her big strat now?
She heads to South Carolina, where the Union controlled part of the coastline, and joined a camp at Port Royal. One of the generals there, David Hunter, was a fierce abolitionist. and he tried to turn runaway slaves into a Union regiment. When he's chastised by Lincoln for doing this, Tubman said, quote, God won't let Master Lincoln beat the South till he does the right thing, end quote.
Okay, Harriet. So God's maintaining the institution of slavery and prolonging the deadliest war in American history to punish Abe Lincoln?
Okay. Yeah. Fair. January of 1863, Lincoln finally gave the Emancipation Proclamation, and Tubman decided the best way to end the war was to join in. So she started scouting the area around Port Royal as a Union scout. She wound up being the first woman to lead an assault in the Civil War. She helped Colonel James Montgomery raid some plantations along the Combahee River.
The general's like, I don't know, Tubman. Do you think you're up for this?
She's like sneaking around plantations. Yeah, I think I'll give it a whirl.
Give it all. In the morning of June 2nd, 1863, she guided a pack of Union steamboats to shore around the Confederate mines, where the soldiers basically took or set fire to the supplies.
Man, these supplies sure would be useful. Oh, God damn it, Pyro Dave. A fire? Again, why do we even have Pyro Dave? We could use... Fuck, take them next time.
When the steamboats blew their horns, the enslaved people in the area all started to flee and run toward the boats. This sentence in Wikipedia really captures the chaos of the moment. Quote, women still carrying steaming pots of rice, pigs squealing in bags slung over shoulders, and babies hanging around their parents' neck. Although the owners, armed with handguns and whips, tried to stop the mass escape, their efforts were nearly useless in the tumult, end quote. The escaped slaves were brought to a nearby fort.
They get there and it's just like, okay, let's see. We got pork. Thank you, Dave. And rice. Thank you, Susan and Cheryl. You brought another mouth to feed.
Lucky
Cool. Cool.
They freed 730 enslaved people that day, and she was plastered all over the newspapers. She worked for the Union Army for the rest of the war as a scout, a nurse, and she helped tend any of the newly liberated slaves that came into camp. There's this kind of tragic aside here in the article where she must have had some kind of paperwork that allowed her to ride in a typically white section of the trains. They refer to it as government paperwork, so I suspect it's issued to her because of her work in the Civil War. In any case, she's in a seat when the conductor tells her to move. When she refused, she showed the paperwork, and the conductor got the help of two passengers to remove her from the seat and throw her into their car, breaking her arm in the process.
Wow.
Rosa Parks would later cite this as her inspiration for not moving from that bus seat.
Yeah, this story about slavery in the Civil War was getting a little too cheerful, so thank you for that. Bring us back down to the earth there.
I want to throw it a little depressing aside once in a while, yeah.
Yeah.
They talk about her constant service to others, so much so that she lived in poverty for quite some time after the war. She was never paid for her service to the Union. She had to work several side jobs to get by. Oh my God. It's like Keith from Modest Needs, but he's also your Uber driver.
Yeah, right.
Sarah Hopkins Bradford penned an authorized biography for her, which netted her a modest sum of money, but she was basically scammed out of it by some smugglers that said they had $5,000 worth of gold that they were selling for less money than $5,000. And they brought her out into the forests for the drop, and then they kicked the shit out of her and took her money.
Ugh. $50 with Heath's luck. That's his like great grandpa. We're gonna find out.
At least one of them, yeah.
Jebediah Enright.
A little historical side note. Just before that, she also actually changed her status to, I am not giving Facebook permission to share my information posted to their website. It just...
While her stories swirled around in the news and people were either filled with sympathy or instead laughed about her gullibility, two representatives, one from New York and another from Wisconsin, wanted to pay her $2,000 for her services to the Union. So they made a very simple stimulus bill to do so. And like many stimulus bills, it was voted down by the Senate. She was eventually given a pension, partially for the death of her second husband and partially for her efforts as a nurse during the war. They did give her a chunk of back pay too, so she eventually was given something for all that good that she did.
9/11 first responders are looking at Harriet Tubman. Lucky.
It's just amazing to me that there would be any debate as to whether to pay the escaped slave for her work. Right, Jesus fucking, what was the point of the war in your minds, you assholes?
Exactly. In her later years, she took on a new cause, suffragist activism.
Hadn't done enough. I get it.
Right. Yeah. She certainly wasn't done yet. She was part of that movement, and she attended meetings with Susan B. Anthony and Emil Holland. Her life was a basic blueprint to show that equality was completely deserved. And she traveled, telling the story of her life and her struggles. In 1896, at the first meeting of the National Federation of Afro-American Women, Harriet Tubman was the keynote. She was honored at the reception in Boston for her life, helping others, and a lifetime service to the nation. But she helped others so much, she was basically living in poverty, so she had to sell her cow to get a train ticket to go to the celebration in her honor.
Wow.
She donated a piece of property that she had to the church so they could make and this is a quote, make an home for aged and indigent colored people. The church opened the home a few years later, charging $100 for patients to enter. And Tubman was appalled by this. She said, quote, "They make a rule that nobody should come in without they have $100. Now I want to make the rule that nobody should come in unless they don't have no money at all." End quote. As she got older, the problems with her headaches got a lot worse. She was experiencing a buzzing sound and she couldn't sleep due to pain. So she asked the doctors at Boston General Hospital to perform surgery on her head. They did this, and she said they, quote, "sawed open my skull and raised it up, and now it feels more comfortable." End quote. My favorite part of this story was that she was given no anesthesia. Instead, Harriet fucking Tubman bit down on a bullet like the boys she worked on in the Civil War as they sawed her head open. She was awake the entire time into the operation.
Okay, yeah, well, yesterday I stubbed my toe and immediately filed for permanent disability.
Hey. Fuck. Tubman died in 1913 of pneumonia at the age of 91, give or take. A stupidly amazing lady and 100% worthy of being on our goddamn money, no matter what that walking testicle Charlie Kirk has to say about it.
Right.
And Cecil, if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would it be?
Charlie Kirk is a racist.
Yes, he is. Are you ready for the quiz?
I am ready for the quiz.
All right, I got one for you. Besides misogyny and racism, what possible argument could exist for not replacing Andrew Jackson's racist-ass genocidal visage on the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman's? A. B. Lo siento, no habla inglés.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And C. Oh my God, what could that over there be?
I think it's definitely A.
It is
It's definitely A. Definitely A.
Ted Cruz's official statement.
Yeah. That's Ben Shapiro destroying you with facts and knowledge. Yeah.
All right, Cecil, what were some alternative names for the Underground Railroad?
Oh, no.
Which were ultimately rejected?
Okay.
A, the Freed and the Furious.
I like that one. Nice. Good.
B, Mission Nearly Impossible.
Yeah.
C, Run Tubman Run. Or D, No Country for Black Men.
Oh, no. We all know it's D, Tom. We all know it's D.
It is
It's so
still D.
sad. So sad.
All right, Cecil. Last but not least, Hollywood recently dramatized Tubman's story for us in the movie Harriet, which I think we can all agree is a terrible title. What should they have called the movie? A, The Tubinator. The Tubinator. When Harriet Met Sally Forth.
Okay.
C, Dirty Harriet.
That's a good one. I like that one. I like that one.
Dirty Harriet.
Or D, Tubman on Wire.
Okay. I think it's secret answer E, Harriet's Afire.
Oh,
Harriet's, like
fantastic.
Harriet, like Chariots of Fire. It's very, very clever. I didn't write it though.
All right. Well, you still win because
Okay.
you
It's better than the porn one. The porn one would have been 3 men and a Tubman, which is not.
All right, Cecil, you
I'm
win.
still the winner. Okay, Noah's
You win,
fast.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Go get him, Noah.
Okay.
All right. Well, for Tom, Cecil, and Noah, I'm Eli Bosnick. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week. And by then, Noah will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can listen to Cecil and Noah on their new podcast, things weren't as bad when I was a kid. Or check out Tom and I's new Snapchat feature reel, What's a Snapchat? And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
They are Tubman and Crockett.
And cut. Excellent, everybody.
Hi, I'm sorry, I don't want to be picky, but steamboats aren't really great on railroad tracks. I'm just saying.
Just read the lines. Okay, Mark?
Also, you sure you don't want me to do a black voice? Because I can do a black voice.
Does anybody know why I stopped fucking making good movies?
No, Mr. De Niro. Nobody knows why you stopped making good movies.
Because I was in really good fucking movies at one point.
I know you were,
Yeah.
Mr. De Niro.
Yeah, me too.
No, not really, Mark.
No, I wasn't.
I mean, The Departed was fine.
Departed was, but I was barely in that. I was like,
no,
show up
that's
in the end dressed
part of
like
the
a
reason
fucking
why it was good. Yeah.
Mouseketeer, and I
You
shoot a
didn't-
guy. What is that
you-
for? Why was that in the
You
movie?
were just silly. It didn't work.